Okay, wow, live video with the selfie stick. Is this as high as I can get it? Nah, I can get it a little higher. Pay no attention to the fact that my bed is not made up because I'm a grown ass man and I don't make up my bed often. Uh, this is an interesting video because it will be studying the effects of edible marijuana in real time. Before I take a sip of my drink, I should bring you up to speed on what I've had. What I've had here is not a commercial by any means. This is a Cushy Punch Sativa. As you can see, it says it takes about 60 minutes. It also says that it has 100 milligrams of THC in it. I prefer sativa over indica. Sativa's more head high, and indica's more body high. My justification for saying sativa over everything else is simply like my head is a much smaller place to occupy than the rest of my body. So if a head high hits you, it tends to hit you quicker. As a body high kind of makes you more relaxed and kind of goofy. So I will record this for as long as I am of sound mind and body who are interested in seeing what the effects of edibles look like in real time. Uh, for no other reason or the fact that I fucking can. Like I decided to do this. So while I'm doing this, what I'm going to do my best to continue to look at the camera and not myself because that's a habit that I have. I tend to look at me in the videos. First, let me say that you should be in a state that allows this thing. Like I have my medical marijuana card, which for the record is in my wallet. For the record, I'm gonna show you. Does it have any no real pertinent information on it? This is my card that says I can have marijuana in the state of California. So I'm not breaking any laws. I feel as though you should be 21 years old. Don't think it's the kind of thing kids should do, as it's mind altering. But who the fuck am I to tell you what you can and can't do? So the box says 60 minutes. It usually takes 45 minutes to an hour before I start feeling like really out of it. But also, typically, like in the first half an hour, I start to feel like, whoa, this Mastodon got it at the Power Ranger convention. It's actually Asia. It came with a little Power Ranger. I'm gonna give you a full debrief on that now because I have got time to kill. Uh, Power Morphicon was quite the experience for me. Like I wasn't sure what I was expecting really. Like I knew I wanted to go. I knew I would have a good time, but I don't think I was fully prepared for what. So let me bring you up to speed. Here's the full recap. Had to rent a car for it, so I went to Enterprise. Thumbs up to Enterprise, and I reserved a car that was going to cost $191, but also there's a $200 like hold that they put on it. So I had factored out about $400 for that. So I was all set, ready to go. When I got to the place, I had concerns that because Asia was the one who's been primarily working and like I wasn't, like they were gonna give me a hard time about that. They really didn't. If you caught the Carl Winslow video, I went up there in a uniform. It worked. Like they didn't even question. But because we were going out of town, they insisted that I have full coverage insurance because you never know what's going to happen. And that cost me an additional $200. So they ended up charging me like 540 some odd dollars on my card, which immediately cut into the money we had for spending, which sucked. We fast forward to the trip itself. It was a 7 hour drive. Like I went and got Asia from work at like 5:15 and we hit the road. We didn't get to the hotel until like 12:30 at night. It was quite a trip. But I will say that the car was fantastic on gas. Uh, we got pretty much all the way there on 3/4 of a tank, and then I dropped another $30 in there, and we ended up by the time we got to the hotel, we still had half a tank of gas, which was cool. We got to the hotel, and it's almost 1 o'clock in the morning, if not after one. Like I'm hot and sticky because I didn't want to run the air because it would cut into the gas. So I'm hot and sticky, and the guy behind the counter is like, "Yeah, so now if you'll just give us the $50 incident fee," and I was like, "What the incident? Like, what do you think I'm gonna do? Go upstairs and steal all your towels and take your pillows and shit? Like, I didn't understand what this fee was for." He was like, "Well, all hotels have them." Now, admittedly, I don't have a whole lot of experience in hotels. Like, me in Asia used to go to Motel 6 a lot, but you know, I was unaware of this fee. And I was like, "Well, why didn't you just take the fee when you charged my card?" He's like, "Oh, we didn't want to, run the risk of committing fraud." So it's like, "So you'll take $248, no problem. But this $50 you have an issue with taking because of fraud." He says, "Yeah, well, you have to pay." And then they were very clear that there was no refund on the hotels. And even if they wanted to give me a refund, which honestly I was leaning in that direction, it would have taken 2 to 3 business days to put back on my card, which would have sucked. So I was like, "Look, dude, I don't have it. Like, I have money set aside for parking, and I have money set aside to get back home." So he was just like, "I need $50." Ultimately, what he did was he ended up waiving the parking fee, and they were able to take $50 off the card. But by the time we got up to the room and settled in, and we both showered, we were both pissed and tired and cranky. So we go to sleep at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and we're up for the convention by 8:39. So now we're getting dressed and we're heading out. And because parking was taken care of at the hotel, I didn't want to move the car and try to park at the convention, especially because it costs $20 to park at the convention. So I was like, we're a mile away from the convention center. We'll just walk. Like, we're walkers by definition. So we figured it wouldn't be that big a deal. When we get out there, and I just wasn't prepared for the humidity in Anaheim. So Asia's hair is getting fucking puffy and I'm sweating all over the place. But what ended up happening was in the morning when we got up, we had been waiting for packages to be returned from Amazon because we had that whole mix up with Amazon with her clothes, and they had to issue refunds. So luckily, a couple of those refunds dropped Saturday morning, so we now had $70 in the bank. So woohoo, we did it. So we ended up spending 10 of that just to get to the convention. And once we figured out where it was like, oh, we can walk back and forth from here. But that first go around, it was a mess. So we waited in line. The line was off the hook just to get in. And, there's conversation to be had out front, which is nice. We're just talking about Power Rangers and whatnot, which was really cool. And we finally get in, and I'm not prepared for the way the floor is set up. Like, people are everywhere. And we immediately dip into there's a Power Rangers Wild Force panel. So we dip into that real quick because we didn't want that's what we came for. Like, say what you want. Like, there were a bunch of people. We came to see Jessica Rae. That was the big deal. So we're there, and both Asia and I managed to ask questions. And to me, the questions were more, I want to alert you to my presence. Like, we've been talking about this for months. I want you to know I'm here. So I'm announcing myself to this group of people. And the panel, surprisingly, real chill and laid back. uh there came a time at the end where they were like, hey, let's all take a selfie, because they wanted like a picture of everybody. And they were like, we sure would benefit if we had a selfie stick. And we were like, I have a selfie stick. So they used our selfie stick, and they, like, the cast referred to us by name, which was really fucking cool. So now we're out on the floor, and we're meeting people, and I can't give them all to you in order, because honestly it's kind of a blur. So what I'll do is, I had a couple of negative interactions that I won't really touch on, because I want this to be really, it's a really positive thing. This was a positive experience for me. So understand that as I'm giving you an account of these interactions, they're not in order. They could have been on Saturday or Sunday, and I'm gonna leave out the bad ones, because positive thoughts, dude. Positive thoughts. And I don't want to throw shade at anybody, because I don't know. They could have been having a crap day, or maybe, they were exhausted from a flight or a drive or whatever. I don't know. So, in no particular order, let me tell you how my day. I'm gonna start off, which was one of my favorites, was Miss Appleby. Miss Appleby was the teacher from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and I thought I was being slick when I ran up to her table. It's like, Miss Appleby, give me detention. Wouldn't you know it? She's got detention slips. Like, she literally has detention slips. And she was like, detention slips are only $3 and they go to charity. I was like, I've got $3. Like, I don't know how I would get home. I've got $3. I will make this work. So Miss Appleby was super cool. We took pictures, which was supposed to be a completely separate charge, but she was like, "Oh, we'll do a 2 for 1." So me and Asia both got detention, which was super cool. And then we took a picture with Miss Appleby. All the pictures that I'm talking about here will be on the Facebook group. So I've taken to posting more in that group. So my life in 120 seconds, despite the fact that there aren't very many videos that only go 120 seconds now, the Facebook group will have pictures of the entire event, so you can check them out. One of the first real interactions I had was with the head writer of Power Rangers Wild Force. I feel bad because I can't remember his name, but he was real cool, and we were just talking about the scripts and like changes that he wanted made. So I asked, it was like, dude, between me and you, honestly, like, how many fanboys do you get who run up and they're like, hey man, I wrote a fans fiction, you should check it out? Like, how many times does that happen and it's crappy? He was like, well, it happens a lot more than you would think, and I don't literally look at them as crappy. I just appreciate the passion from that fan. So I was like, wow, that's really a good way to look at it. I mentioned briefly that I had been writing a thing, but I also was like, I'm not going to try to pawn it off to you. Like, that's not why I'm here. I'm here to shake hands and, like, just relive my childhood, basically. So that's pretty much what the whole weekend was. My first, and I'm going to be using Ranger names because I'm not very good with keeping up with all their names. And then it's like some I know, some I don't know, and I feel like if I'm naming some by real names and then some by their Ranger names, it's just gonna get confusing. So I'm just gonna stick to Ranger names. I had what I thought was fantastic interactions with Jack. Jack. Wow. And I just went through this whole thing about not using real names. Danny. Danny from Wild Force. He was the Black Ranger. Hell of a guy. Shook his hand like he knew I was coming, because we had conversed back and forth on social media a couple of times. And I was just like, dude, it's an honor. Happy to meet you, man. Max was the same way. Real cool dude. And hey, true story. Like, It was Wild Force was 2002, and my kid was really into Wild Force. So like, so was my dad, oddly enough, because he thought Toxica was cute. But the whole never give up thing, I think, really resonated with my kid who was 5 at the time. So he would never give up, and he was like, "Oh, I never give up." Also, there was an episode with a bell, or he was bell trapper, and you would trap him, and he would ring the bell. So like, I would like run up behind a car with like the laundry basket and drop it on it, and be like, "Bell trapper." When he was a kid, he just thought that was the funniest fucking thing. So to be able to share those kinds of things with this cast was amazing to me. Uh, I bumped into Boom passively just on the floor. It's like, oh hey man, how you doing? Stopped, shook his hand. Bumped into Eric on the floor, the Quantum Ranger, which was a big deal to me. Like he also, I went to shake his hand. He also didn't want to shake hands. He was more a fist bump guy, which I get. I was like, oh man, pleasure to meet you, man. He was like, yeah, man, you too, man. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for being supportive. Like it was quick, but also like it felt genuine to me. The same with who did I bump into on the floor? Just Pat Merrick, the Lunar Wolf Ranger from Wild Force. Like I bumped into him several times, like once at the prom, a couple of times just on the floor, and every time he remembered, hey Patrick, right again, man, great questions today, great questions, man. So glad we inspired you. Thanks for coming out. Just shit, and you know when somebody shakes your hand, you can tell with the shaking of the hand. But he would shake my hand, and then with the other hand, he would pat you on the shoulder to let you know that he was really into it. I thought that was super cool. I met TJ, who I thought was very important to meet. And like with most of them, I would share my story. Like, yeah, dude, 7 hours from Sacramento to get here. You know, blew all our money to get here. So sorry, I don't have money for pictures, but just want to shake hands. You know, I thought that was important. He was like, "Man, come on, get in here and take a picture with me." So took a picture with TJ. Super cool. He had his blue helmet and his red helmet. He was like, "Which do you prefer?" I was like, "Dude, the red helmet. You deserve it, dude. You're a Red Ranger. Let's get in here." Delphine, the Alien Ranger, was super cool. She like we met and she insisted that I kiss her on the cheek. So I did. And we were just talking, and apparently she is under the impression that there's going to be some sort of Netflix series coming up, or they're talking about it, and they wanted to do something 10 episodes with the Equestrian Rangers, which would be awesome. Like, I'd be all for that. That'd be super cool. Uh, who else? Who else? Xander from Mystic Force, I think, was one of the most sincere interactions that I had. Like, here was a guy, I shook his hand, and he was just like the entire time, like, he just seemed enthralled by the conversation. Like, you know, that tell me more look. He was just like the whole time he was really into it. He's like, yeah, yeah, it's good to meet you, man. Like that was super cool. And then like the next day, I bumped into him again, and you could tell he recognized me, but he felt bad because he couldn't remember where we had driven out from. So it's like, oh, dude, it's fine in Sacramento. He's like, oh man, thanks for coming out, mate. So good to see you here. That's my New Zealand. I don't think it's very good. It's like, oh, thanks for coming out, mate. Uh, who else? Katie from Time Force. I thought we had a very sweet interaction. We ended up talking about. She said she was married. I asked her how they had met, and I told her how me and Asia met. And I kind of left her with the idea that our relationship was like this online thing. I was like, oh no, 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 she's here. She's actually here. Like I'll go get her and I'll show her to you. Like it's not just online. But Katie was cool. She like all kind of hugs and just happy to be there. Like she legit seemed like she was having a good time. Had a real good conversation with Wes. Argument made that he was like one of the greatest Red Rangers, and I think there is an argument to be made there. Like shook his hand, was a real cool dude. Up into Zach. I had met him a couple of years prior. He remembered me, but couldn't remember my name. But that was enough. Like the fact that I had a face that you could remember was cool enough for me. I met Jim and Gemma from RPM. Uh, I ended up talking to Joel from Lightspeed Rescue. Not that I wasn't a big fan. Like wasn't that big a deal to me. But thank you for my childhood. Thanks for coming out. So I took the time to shake his hand. There were a couple of people who I just didn't like. Some of the newer seasons, I didn't bother. I did talk to Noah from I don't even remember what season. Whatever was it, Megaforce? He was kind of cool. He Lucas from Time Force tried to leave me with the impression that he was super busy, but his IMDb said otherwise. But I would have liked to have seen more from his character. Uh, Bumped into Rancic, who Asia thought he was just being a dick, but I think the actor is just a very stoic dude. So I was like, hey man, it's a pleasure to meet you. Yeah, it's no problem. Yes, thanks for coming out. It was good to meet you. Like he was just a monotone dude. Uh, the highlight of the event, like why we went out here for this, was for Jessica Ray. Big fan, big fan. And Asia ended up having a mild panic attack before going down there, and I was like, "Look, it'll be fine. Let's just go down there. She's a person. It'll be great." We went down there, and because we weren't buying anything, we tried to be like, "Ooh, excuse me," tried to be quick about it, but it was a very sincere interaction. Every ranger who was out there had a handler of some kind. So hers was a young lady named Katie, whom I had gotten to know on Instagram. And Katie was just excited to see us, and a big old hug as soon as she found out who I was. And the interactions that we had with Ray were fantastic, I think. Like there was a level of professionalism that had to be withheld because we were in public and we were in a place of business, and technically she was at work, and technically we weren't spending money, but I felt as though she spent as much time with us as she could. And then ultimately I rustled up $20 so that my wife could get a picture with Jessica Ray, because that was important. Like that was the reason that we went. And there's an amusing story there, but some things should be left out. Well, let's just say that I'm very thankful to Jessica Ray and her handler for being as cool as they were. Now at the end of our I guess we should talk about Angel Grove Prom. As I was going around talking to people, I would ask if they were going to the prom or not to try to gauge a response on who was going to be there and who wasn't. And a lot of the women was like, "Oh, we'll try," and I was like, "Oh, well, save me a dance because I'm a flirt." And the prom was actually okay. Before we get into the prom, though, I would be remiss if I did not mention that I had a real good conversation with Bridge from SPD, who seemed legit interested in going back. He's like, "I'd really like to go back. I want to do something." Also, TJ said he's coming back for next year. I'm not sure what he's doing, but it's nice to know that he's coming back. But Bridge was like, "Yeah, I would love for us to come back." And the way they had it set up was that like all of the SPD guys were kind of in a row. He was like, "What do you think, guys?" They go, "Yeah, SPD emergency." It was pretty fucking cool. Sid seemed really cool from SPD. We had a good talk. It's just like, "Hey, thank you. You're part of my childhood, dude." Told her that we were going to be dressing up the next day, and she was like, "Oh yeah, come by. I'd love to see." So, also, I pawned off my series on Bridge while we were there. I was just like, "Hey, dude, for shits and giggles, I'll send it to you. If you get a minute to check it out, cool. Like I would love to know what you think of it. But if not, also cool. Also cool. Like I'm not expecting you to, oh, I read it and now we're gonna make it a thing. Like, no, I'm just curious to know what you would think of it. Um, had a real cool interaction with Sky as we talked about what had been going on for him. I told him we were dressing up, and he was like, "So, what color did you go?" It's like we went with red. He was like, "So, is that for me or is that for Bridge?" I was like, "Dude, it's more just for Red Ranger." And he got to talking about what happened to Sky after Bridge took over as Red Ranger, which I don't agree with from continuity's sake, but you know, that's his story. Let him have it. Let him have his story. Speaking of stories, apparently the guy who played Cole, who legit killed somebody with a sword, got put in prison for that. Apparently, they whittled it down to manslaughter. Like I don't know if it was a premeditated thing, if it was they were playing around and he had made a mistake. I don't know, but apparently there's no ill will between him and the rest of the cast. They were all for, yeah, Cole. Cole would. There was a guy dressed up as Cole. He was like, Cole would really appreciate that, man. Like, thank you for doing. So apparently, no bad blood there. Uh, the prom was supposed to be set in 1996, but also it was made to look like 1996 from the perspective of a millennial. So it didn't really look like 1996, but they played a lot of music from that era. And Asia and I determined that we're just not the kind of people who go to parties. Like we went and it was cool to be there and see everybody there. Merrick ended up walking up to us again. He was like, "Hey man, thanks for coming out. Real great questions." It's like, "Oh man, that's super cool." Like even if he was full of it, like even if he didn't remember me or the questions, it was like the fact that he walked up to me and shook my hand and was like, "Hey man, great questions." It's like the little personal touches that really make it feel like it was a one-on-one thing. We ended up leaving the party rather early to go get something to eat, but Sunday morning we were back at it and we were already like kind of pooped. But Sunday was really more. This is us taking pictures. Like we're in full SPD uniform now, so we're taking pictures with other people, and people just want to take pictures of us, which was like incredible to me. I was like, sure, be happy to take a picture. It's like some people wanted to take pictures with us, some people just wanted of us. We got a lot of people who would say things like, "Oh man, did you hear with your girl? That's relationship goals for me, man. That's what I want. I want to be able to do this with my girl." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty fucking lucky." But Sunday for us was more or less we just wanted to do the rounds one more time in uniform, take a couple of pictures, and say goodbye. I'm pretty sure that there was nobody at the convention who, when it was time for them to leave, walked around to the booths and tables where they had interacted and said, "Hey, guess I'm heading out now." Like it's very important to me that you understand that I am a Power Ranger fan. I love Power Rangers. I will always love Power Rangers. Like, despite the fact that I started watching it, I was already an adult at 18 years old. I I've been watching Power Rangers for longer than I have it. Like it's been 25 years and I'm still watching. Like it's just a thing. It's just part of me. And while I'm a Power Ranger fan, these people were my friends. Like I wasn't looking to, hey, goodbye, let's take a quick picture. Like pictures were cool, but I wasn't like hurting for the pictures. Like for me, I just wanted to shake hands and thank people for their contributions to my childhood because Power Rangers got me through a lot. And even now, it's part of the thing that centers me when I write. So for me, I just wanted to shake hands with these people. Like, it was tangible for me. But most notably, There was a fun story where Asia bumped into Jessica Rae in the bathroom and she didn't know what to say, so she didn't. And at some point, Princess Shayla was having a hard time getting dressed in the bathroom and asked Asia to help her. So that was kind of a big thing. Uh, Heading out, we stopped by the booth to talk to Danny and Max, who were next to each other, and I regret not being able to buy a Never Give Up shirt. Like that would have been super cool. But I just walked up to him and I gave him a pound. Was like, hey man, I'm heading out. He was like, oh man, thanks for coming out. Hey, you drove from Sacramento, right? He's like, yeah. He was like, man, you get home safely. You know, same with Max. That was super cool. Just shook his hand. Was like, yeah, dude, I'm heading out. He's like, man, I'm so glad you came out. Merrick walked past. He was like, oh, you're leaving? All right, man. Have a safe trip. uh, we ended up talking to Xander again before we left, and he couldn't recall where we were coming from, and he felt bad for it, but he remembered my face. So he was like, "Oh man, thanks for coming out, mate. I'm just so glad to have met you." I was like, fuck yeah, Xander." Um, Again, the highlight was Jessica Rae because she had sick, I guess, over the evening. So she wasn't out to shake very many hands, but she was just like, thank you guys for coming. I know you came a long way. Please be safe. And we were like, well, guess we should be leaving because I didn't want to initiate anything weird, you know? But she was like, I feel like I should give you guys a hug. So she came from around the table and she hugged. And I probably lingered longer than I should have, but it was like it was just nice. And I was just, hey, thank you for my childhood, man. Like most of the people there had a real big influence on my life, whether they knew it or not. So it was nice to be there and be able to shake hands with people. And she gave us pens. Like she's supposed to be charging for those pens, dude, but she gave us pens. And her handler, Katie, was just like, yeah, we're going to be working on a street team. You guys are going to be the first ones I call. Also, I'm left out of the story because I didn't think it was relevant, really. But on our first go around talking to Ray, she went out of her way. She was like, yeah, love you guys. You guys are like my Facebook family. It's like, and we're all like behind the booth just kicking it. Like to me, it seemed longer than it was, but also I didn't see a whole lot of people just behind the booth just kicking it. Like again, these people, I'm big fan, but these people were my friends. You know, like was just happy to be there and happy to have taken part. It was an experience for me. It was like I took a lot of pictures. It was cool that a representative from Hasbro was there, and he really liked our uniforms. He was like, "Do you mind if I take a picture of you guys?" I was like, "Hey, dude, no problem." And it's like we caught the attention of Hasbro people, which was cool. Uh, Miss Appleby was a highlight for me. I almost cried. I won't lie. I almost cried for Miss Appleby. Like you can see if you like again if you go to the Facebook, not that I'm trying to cheaply plug it or anything, but if you go check it out, like in all the pictures I look serious as hell or I'm doing the pose or something. But like for Jessica Rae and Miss Appleby, it's just big cheesy grin. Like I really felt myself welting up over there with Miss Appleby. That was just I don't even know why. Like I didn't. I was like, oh man, I can't wait to meet Miss Appleby at the convention. When I got there, and suddenly it was just this nostalgia overload for me. Like the whole trip was just nostalgia. Wow, I am 35 minutes into this, and I am very aware that things have been taken. The drive back was inconsequential if you ask me. Like the way there was hot and there was a lot of anticipation. But on the way back, Uh, we ended up turning on the air much more than I would have liked, and it was a drain on the gas. And because of that, we weren't able to order food when we first got back in the house. But it was fine because it was late and we needed to get in the bed anyway. But it was a fantastic trip. Like coming home was super cool. Uh, Talking to Kari while we were gone, it's like I missed him. I missed him a lot, and it was nice to know that he missed us too. I mean, he wasn't jumping up and down like, "Oh my God, I'm glad you're here, I'm glad you're here," but also he was very aware that we weren't here. So, like, that's my boy. That's that's my boy. Yeah, these are wow. I can't even tell you when it started. It just I'm very aware of it. And also, while I'm talking about it, detention from Miss Appleby. Dude, talk about a highlight. Talk about a highlight of my life. Like, holy crap. Like, I understand now how people get addicted to these. And I understand why people dress up and make a big fuss about these things. Like, holy crap. Like, what a fantastic time it was. Like, they've announced the next Power Morphicon already. And it's like, I want to go. You know, like it'll be 2020. It's 2 years from now, but I want to make plans to go. This time, I want to fly because I feel like if we get tickets early enough, we can fly, and it'll be fairly cheap. Whew. Wow, these are hit me kind hit me kind of cushy. Winner, winner. Also, also while we're talking, I'm a big fan of something called the Green Hornet. Like it's made from the same people who make Chiba Chews, which was really our first real experience with edibles. I mean, it kind of tasted like a dirty Tootsie Roll, but it was wow. I just seem to remember it knocking me on my ass. Then we graduated to Cushy, and it used to be that we would get hot chocolate and we would melt down a chocolate bar and pour it into the hot chocolate and we would just drink it. But that was disgusting. Like we were adding extra steps where we could have just been getting like edible like gummies or something. So we graduated to the Cushies. Then there was the Cushium Select Blend, which was supposed to be more refined. And in retrospect, it was okay. But I've learned that I really enjoy Green Hornets. But really, it's just whatever you haven't had any in a while. No matter what you get, it's gonna knock you on your butt. I am not a proponent of drugs. I'm not like, yeah, do drugs. First of all, I don't think marijuana is a drug. Like it's an herb, dude. It's a plant. So I don't count that. But the only other thing that I've ever done was LSD. And if you go back to like the first couple of videos that we did, I was talking about I had done a thing that I probably wouldn't do again because it was too much for me. And I didn't touch it again for like a year. But when we went back, I found that it was much easier to manage than it was the first time. So while I'm not advocating for the use of LSD, I'm just stating that I have, and not bad. Like, I feel more creative and opened and in tune with things, I think. Uh, well, guess it's time for me to get going. My battery is dying. I should have saw that coming. But hey, thanks for thanks for sticking with me as long as you did so I can get through this debrief. I'm glad I was able to get it all out. So there are a couple of other little odds and ends, but we won't. Just know that we had a blast. Like, what a wonderful time it was, and I can't wait to do it again. But I'm gonna go now. Are you sure you want to stop streaming? Yeah, I'm pretty sure.